Praise be to Jesus. Well, hello everyone. Good Wednesday morning to you. And we have some news here for you. So let's get started. Let's see. The first thing is four men who said they were sexually abused as boys by a teacher at a Catholic church have reached a $27.5 million settlement with the Diocese of Brooklyn. The New York Times reported Tuesday that the agreement is one of the largest settlements ever awarded to sexual abuse victims within the Catholic Church. The men will each receive about $6.8 million. Well, that's really quite a settlement there, huh? After nearly a decade of dormancy, church watchdog Roman Catholic Faithful, RCF, is returning to battle. Launched in 1996, the Illinois based activist group fought to expose abuses, sexual and liturgical, among the clergy for nearly a decade and a half before disbanding in 2009. As founder Stephen Brady recounted in a September 8th press release announcing RCF's return, we closed our doors after we became convinced that clerical corruption could not be fought simply on a piecemeal basis on a local level. Rather, it became clear that the greater part of the post conciliary church had lost the faith. Well, it's good to see them back, fighting for the faith again. That's a good thing. The Diocese of Fort Wayne South Bend published Tuesday the names of the 18 priests and deacons who have served in the diocese and have been credibly accused of at least one act of sexual abuse of a minor. It is my hope that by releasing these names, the innocent victims of these horrific and heartbreaking crimes can finally begin the process of healing, Bishop Kevin Rhodes said ahead of the September 18th release. Well, too bad he didn't say anything about, justice. Justice for the victims. Cardinal Reinhard Marx, head of the German Bishops' Conference, admitted that mistakes were made in the German church's handling of sex abuse of minors and said he anticipates change in the church. Speaking out for the first time regarding the contents of a leaked document on church sexual abuse in Germany, Cardinal Marx attributed the abuse to the church lacking attentiveness, lacking sensitivity through the absence of love. Again, no mention of homosexuality or cover up. The victims need justice to heal, I think. The most notorious Austrian homosexual, Jerry Ketzler, 55, revealed on September 4th that Vienna Cardinal Christoph Schornborn, 73, blessed his gay partnership. Well, I have to say something about this. This reminds me of the story of there was a French priest who had a private audience with the Pope, or private meeting, conversation with the Pope. And he gets back to France, and he was invited on French national television, at which time during the conversation he said that the Pope gave him permission to bless gay couples. In other words, bless the partnership itself. Okay. Of course, this is just one example of many. Another, probably the biggest one, was when it was printed that the Pope said in a private conversation that there wasn't any hell. And then, when the media goes to the Vatican and says, did the Pope really say that? The Vatican always says, the Vatican press office always says, well, we don't make any comment about what the Pope may or may not say in a private conversation. And of course, the Pope never came out and said that, no, I didn't say this. This is, a distorted, this is a distortion of what I said. I didn't say anything about that. Um, I have to tell you that official Catholic teaching is that hell does exist. Of course, the Pope doesn't do this. So, one can very safely assume that this is exactly what the Pope wanted to be said. So, this happened with this French priest, and it's happened with a woman in South America who asked the Pope if she could take Catholic communion. And, this had to do with a telephone call. But of course, the Vatican said, we can't respond about that either. That was part of a private conversation. But then the woman's husband, or live-in boyfriend, I think at the time, goes on social media and says that the Pope said that, such and such. Well, it went something like, the Pope said, well, you talk to the Lord, and then you can move forward. He sort of gave the idea that, what's a little, you remember the comment Pope made one time, what's a little bread and wine can't hurt, or. And, this more recent one was with one of the Chilean abuse survivors, and, with the Pope saying, God made you this way, God accepts you this way. Again, these stories get out into the secular media and give the people of the world the totally wrong idea of what not only official Catholic teaching is, but they give people the idea out in the world that, oh, see, the Pope can change what he wants, and there's been pressure on the Pope to change the wording in the Catechism about homosexuality is disordered, and because people think that the Pope can do just whatever he wants. Well, I mean, the Pope really has no respect for, I would think, a lot of Catholic teaching, and is just using the platform to do what he wants to do. And of course, all the bishops and cardinals and priests, just let them get away with this. I mean, no wonder why the Pope doesn't have anything to say about, any kind of criticism. There isn't enough criticism. See, there aren't enough people, clergy and hierarchy, standing up and putting the pressure on them. Now, yesterday I was talking about sins of omission. These are big ones for these guys. I'm telling you. I mean, I believe the Lord is going to let, these the clergy in the Catholic Church. These sins are really very serious. For them not to speak up. I mean, do you remember going to mass, let's say on a Sunday, and hearing, okay, well, we have a letter from our bishop here, and we'd like to read it. All right, so Bishop so and so, I'm just sort of making this up as we go along here. Bishop so, I have contacted the Holy Father and told him that I think he needs to clarify his statement on such and such, that this is not official Catholic teaching, that the correct teaching is such and such, and, this person has made a mistake and whatever. In other words, set the record straight. But they don't do this. Well, there's a handful of them that do, but that isn't enough. That's not that the numbers aren't big enough to make Pope Francis even I don't know lose a second of sleep over. and all the rest of them are just like being quiet. So what does that tell you? I mean, what's their concern? For the truth? Is their concern for, their own final judgment? No, their concern is for their position, their job. They don't want to rock the boat, and they're just, the hierarchy and all the priests are just letting this pope destroy Catholicism, right before our eyes. They have all kinds of excuses, all right? They're afraid if they start speaking up against this, that the modernists, are going to come and they're going to raise a big stink. And then there's going to be this great big, public stink about this. We're going to take our laundry out into the public and there's going to be a schism. Well, if that's what's got to happen, then that's what's going to happen, you know? It's going to happen anyway. Excuse me. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. It's going to happen anyway. I mean, what good's it do to sweep all this stuff under the carpet and make believe it's not there, and then just, rationalize in your own mind, this, that, and the other thing, for whatever reason that would go on in someone's mind about why they're not speaking up. It's just, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, this is one of the other things that bothers me to no end. The fact that, you know, I mean, you're talking about there are 400,000 priests in the world. There's more than 5,000 bishops, and I don't know how many cardinals there are. There aren't that many cardinals. Maybe, I don't know, I guess maybe 3 to 5, maybe 300 or something. And we're talking about so very, very few. I mean, you're talking less than 1% of all the Catholic clergy has raised a stink about anything, you know? And that's why Venerable Fulton Sheen said, forget about the clergy, it's the laity that where the real faith will remain. There'll be a remnant of the faithful laity that will hold onto the deposit of faith, and that will be Christ's true church during these times. And those of you who agree with me in what I'm saying, I believe that you're part of the remnant, what's called the remnant faithful. And Jesus got a lot of work for all of us to do. Um, you really need to consider giving God, Jesus, more time to use you as his instrument. Um, and don't be sitting there going, oh, well, I don't know how he could use me. I mean, that's just, that's just the enemy trying to dissuade you from even, you know, well, where am I going to find the time to do anything he asks me to do? Don't worry about that. God's got all this worked out for you. I mean, do you really care enough to really get yourself involved? The first thing you need to do is to free yourself up, to start taking a hard look at your life and saying, what are the areas in my life that are not God's will for me? Where am I spending my time in a way that is not God's will for me? That if I let that go, then I can give that time to God and say, Jesus, okay, I got this time. You want to do something with me here? You want me to do this or do that, or you let me know? You pray about it. And, Jesus will get you involved. He's got way more work for all of us than, there aren't enough of us willing to work in the vineyard. So there's always a great need for people to work in the vineyard. Well, anyway, here I'm rambling on again. I get going on this, I get going on this, and it's like, well, okay, that's about all the news that there is for right now. So, I'll tell you again, enjoy today's Wednesday. Enjoy your Wednesday afternoon, morning, evening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.